Two guys doing a podcast. Two guys doing a podcast. Two guys doing a podcast. Podcast. Ow. First of all, R.I.P. Not R.I.P. Well, yes, R.I.P. R.I.P. all of the fallen, unarmed black men who have been unjustly, unlawfully, brutally murdered by police. There's too many to name. I suggest that you go online, you Google, and just Google unarmed people. Because, I mean, it's not just black people, but that's what we're focusing on right now. But Google unarmed black people murdered by police. Just Google it, man, and you'll see. Because you should know their names, right? So I almost feel like this is a disservice, me not saying their names. But there's really too many. You know what I mean? But the one that I want to talk about, and, thank God he's still alive. God was with him that day, Jacob Blake, who right now is in the hospital because he was shot in the back 7 times. Now, the story is he was at a party and he was breaking up a fight. Police were called. Fight between 2 women. Police were called. And he was trying to break up the fight. And the cop, you can see the video. I don't want to play the video. And the cop shot him 7 times in the back. You can see he was walking away. The cop shot him 7 times. They tell you to put your hands up, right? Because if your hands are up, they can see your hands. How do you draw for a weapon? Any weapon, not even a gun. If your hands are up. They tell you turn your back and put your hands up. Because if your back is turned, how can you shoot the cop? The person behind your back is turned, right? His back was turned. And he got shot 7 times in his back. Not even once. Not even once. He got shot 7 times in his back. And by the grace of God, he is still alive. And the crazy thing is his father just reported that he, right now, in his hospital bed, Jacob Blake, in his hospital bed right now, is handcuffed. Did you hear what I just said?
I didn't even hear it.
He is handcuffed to his bed right now.
Oh, my God.
Right? So, right now, personally, this is right across, we're in Canada. Canada's not innocent in this. You know what I mean? I've had my run-ins with cops as well. Canada is not innocent in this. But really and truly, I'm viewing America like they're a third world country. The things that are happening there, I don't know how else to view them. But, naturally, of course, people react, and the way we react is we protest. Right? Now, you hit me up. And you say, hey,
hold up a second, because I found a little bit more in that story, a little bit more details as I was looking into it as well, right? So what I found out as well from the witness statements, because there was also witness statements that were given from people that were around as well, and there was apparently a scuffle that had ensued previous to this whole filming thing. So after they had approached him, when they first got there, of course the call was for the 2 women. He was there trying to break up the fight, and the witnesses say that he was obviously trying to keep the cops away, saying, no, it's okay. He knew both the women, or he knew one of the women, and was trying to just resolve the situation without there being any police interference, without any of that, right? So because of him trying to stop the cops, that's how the attention strayed away from the women towards him.
Right.
Now, words were being spoken because he's trying to tell them, it's cool. They're trying to assert their authority.
Right.
So, based on the witness statements, they say that the man was actually tased prior.
Okay.
To the video tape. He was tased. A scuffle ensued, right? So there was a little bit of a scuffle ensued. Because if you watch that video, his clothes are a little bit disheveled. Like he's wearing a tank top.
Right.
But it's a little bit disheveled, right?
Right.
So apparently there was a little bit of a scuffle before.
Wait, a scuffle between
the cops
and him.
The cops and him.
Okay.
So before weapons were drawn, there was apparently a scuffle. Whether they were trying to arrest him or just detain him, I don't know what it was. I'm just going off what I read and what I've heard from the various articles that I've seen. As he's walking away, this is the good part. As he's walking away now, What a witness says that they hear one of the cops say he has a knife.
Mm.
All right. Obviously, if you look at that video, you see no weapons in his hand. When the cop says he has a knife, which is the cop that is in front of him, that's when the cop from behind approaches in the aggressive manner. He then starts to walk towards his car. Obviously, he's going to check on his kids, and then we all know what happens from there. But those details I feel are very important to the story as well.
They no, they 100% are important, Dre, but they don't justify the reaction from the cop.
No. Jeff definitely wasn't trying to justify it.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not suggesting that you are. It's just, I just want to make sure whoever's watching this, a lot of people will get, and thank you for sharing that because I wasn't aware of that, but a lot of people will watch this or even, get that information elsewhere and be like, okay, so it does make sense that the cop reacted the way that. No, not at all. Not at all. That does not justify shooting someone in the back 7 times. Even if he did have a knife on him, it's a knife. You know what I mean? Like, how much damage you have to get within arm's reach to do damage with a knife? You have a bullet. You know what I mean? So you could, yeah. So it definitely doesn't justify it. But so you have an interesting stance on protests. You do feel like, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know that we have opposing stances on protests.
As far as protests and hashtags, 100%.
Yeah, I personally do think protests are necessary. I think it's necessary because it creates the narrative for what it is that you're doing, and what it is that you're fighting for. So you get to take charge of the narrative. It disrupts the system. At the end of the day, we're ants or we're rats or whatever you want to call us, but we're this. You know what I mean? So we need to take this and create this, which is a protest. You get a lot of people together. You're this small, you get a lot of people together, now you're this big, and you get to disrupt everything. So it's the same slogan, no justice, no peace. You know what I mean? So the reason why I think protests are actually effective is because if you, and when I say you, I'm talking about the cops, I'm talking about the government, I'm talking about all the people in power. If you're not going to do the right thing, all right, well then we have to show you the consequences of you not doing the right thing. And by the way, all these protests, we're not asking for anything other than what everybody else deserves, which is just to be treated equally. That's all. That's really all we're saying. And I see you nodding your head in agreement because that's a fact. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking for handouts. All we're saying is, when you pull me over, treat me like you would treat somebody who looks like you. So I definitely think the protests are necessary because, again, it creates the narrative. It lets people know what all this carnage that you're seeing. It lets people know why all that carnage is happening. As far as the hashtags, I mean, at the end of the day, this is social media. We're in the age of social media. You got to remember, there was a time where, well, for starters, black people were always getting messed with by cops, by white people. And there was some white people who didn't believe it. Police beating up black people? Are you kidding me? No way. I know Bob. Bob's a cop. Bob would never do that. So this is back then, before social media, before the internet, right? So the reason why I'm saying hashtags are important is because everybody's online. When you post a news clip, when you post a video, when you post anything, and you create the hashtag, it lets people know, hey, click on that hashtag. What's this about? Okay, that's what that's about.
If the purpose is awareness, then that's all good, and then all for protests and hashtags. But with me, with this whole movement, with everything that's going on, what I want to see is change. I want to see real change. I don't want to see social media change. I don't want to see momentary change. I want permanent change. And the problem that I have with protests and hashtags is that we've been protesting and hashtagging. Well, we've been protesting since before Rodney King. We've been protesting for how many years? We've been hashtagging since Trayvon Martin. And guess what? Jacob Blake still got shot 7 times last week, right? We want to go out and we want to hashtag defund the police. That's what we want to focus on because we believe in our hearts that if we take money away from the police, it's going to solve all of our problems.
But who said it's going to solve all of our problems?
Well, listen, there's a lot of people right now who believe that the police brutality is the focus of what's going on right now, which the police brutality is an element of what's going on right now. But people need to understand that the overall fight right now is exactly like you said. It's equality. That's all we're looking for. We're not looking for a fight. We're not looking for revenge. We're just looking for simple equality. Now, in order to affect change, what people need to understand is that there are people who are in power right now who are watching these protests and reading these hashtags, and they're laughing at you because they know that those protests and those hashtags do not affect their pockets directly. And if there is an effect, it's a momentary, second, a few months effect. You look at all the people who were billionaires before COVID started, ask yourself how they're able to amass multiple billions of dollars when there's a pandemic and everything is shut down. Businesses are shutting down everywhere. Jeff Bezos just passed $200 billion worth of net worth, and close to 90 billion of that was earned during COVID. Now, these are the people who control the media, who control what we see, what we hear, and what we know. And I know for a fact that if they want something to become popular or that trending topic, i.e., Black Lives Matter, they're going to make sure it's seen and they're going to use it not for the purpose that it's intended for at first, but for the purpose that they can see that they can switch it around and alter it. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I sent you a video. You have the video?
Let's watch it.
I have the video. Just play that video.
Who's gonna go against the grain? They told you niggas the revolution will not be televised. So if you see a revolution on TV, that ain't the revolution.
Hello. Yeah, you got it right there.
You think the white man gonna show you your revolution?
And that's exactly what they're doing. Exactly the NBA, NFL, all these sports, all these events, putting the shit on the t-shirts and shit like that. And they're showing you this is not a revolution. This is not revolutionary. None of this is. It's all fake. This is all planned. The man found this bullshit, man.
Put niggas to sleep. That's what they doing. They putting motherfucking NyQuil in your baby bottle. They putting NyQuil in your baby bottle. Y'all niggas is mental infants. Y'all niggas is mental toddlers out here. You can't find one black intellectual that's a leftist that'll come debate Hotep Jesus on this topic. Not one.
Hold on for a second. Can I just get clarification on something? Hotep Jesus, is he a Republican?
I'm not sure where
Okay, because can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, because he sounded very pro Donald Trump there for a moment.
Right, the Donald Trump part, that's something that we definitely have to get into.
But also, people like the guy you just showed me, the Hotep Jesus guy, and like people like yourself, it's interesting because now, full disclosure, I want everyone who's watching this to know what I'm saying is coming from a person who's never been to a protest. I've never been to a protest, okay? I've never quit my job because I'm working for the man. I haven't done any of that stuff, all right? So you could take whatever I'm saying with a grain of salt. But people like yourself and like Hotep Jesus, a lot of people even on my timeline, they have this thing where it's like the protests don't do anything. The hashtags are stupid. Black Lives Matters doesn't do anything. It's a scam and so on and so forth. This is their narrative that they go with. But my question is, okay, if all these things are accurate and you as a black person, obviously you love your people. So I would say to you, what are you doing? So if BLM is a scam, if the protests are pointless, if the hashtags make no sense, but you know we're getting gunned down in the street, and you got all these millions of people in America, you have all these millions of people across the world, mind you, who are now aware of this because of the hashtags, because of organizations like BLM, who are marching, who are speaking up. You have all these people. This is not corporations. This is people who go to work, just like me and you, right? You have all these people. So because of these movements, they're doing that. But, you think it's stupid. So my question is, what do you do?
Okay, so first, what I was saying earlier, what I want to be specific about is I'm saying that there's people who hold positions of power, right? I'm not saying all white people are evil. I'm saying that there are people who are, like I said, from generations where they stole this power or they got it somehow, but they're used to having this power. They do not want to give it up.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So when they see a threat, approaching or potentially approaching that could sacrifice or jeopardize the situation they're in, they're going to do what they have to do to make sure that they are okay. They are not concerned about the greater majority. Of course, if you or me were in the same situation, it would probably be the same thing. We're more concerned about us and our families than you and what's going on. So I'm not talking about every white person being evil. I'm saying there's people that hold these positions who have that mentality that this is what I deserve and I refuse to lose it and I'm going to keep it by any means necessary. Now, like you said earlier, everybody's just a single individual. Obviously, everybody has different size platforms. Mine is not too large. What I'm trying to do is what I can do. And that's the people that are around me, the people that I know, whether they are black, whether they are white, whether they are Asian. I have conversations with them, and I'm talking about real conversations. I don't sugarcoat. I don't dumb it down for anybody. If you can't keep up, then you shouldn't be part of the conversation. Maybe stay over there. But if you want to get involved, you better learn. You better have an education about it. And all I can hope is that what I say to other people gets on from me to them to other people to that. But what needs to be the message that needs to be passed along is what's important. Because the message with these protests and these hashtags is not the message. These are trends. That's what people have to understand. There's a difference between a revolution and a trend. A revolution is a specific purpose with the desire to affect change. Trends are momentary things that people latch onto because it's cool and they want clout. It's very simple, right? So if you want a revolution, there's only one way to affect that, and that's to affect these people that I spoke about earlier who are in power.
Right.
How do we affect them, though? How do we affect them? Because obviously we're little people. I'll give you an example of something that happened recently, and I'm so glad it happened. Have you heard about the boycott the NBA is having?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Jacob Blake got shot. A few NBA players felt this is getting out of hand. They decided to boycott and not play. They took money out of the owners' pockets. They took money out of the NBA's pockets. I guarantee you that the NBA and the owners are going to be doing something very soon involving Black lives. Now, how long this thing lasts, how much it is, or how much it affects overall change, I'm not aware. But these men
and women, don't forget the WNBA.
And the WNBA, yes, of course, my fault. The WNBA, of course, was also very loud about it, as they should be, right? Because there's a quality that they need as well. But that's a whole different topic, right? They spoke out about this. They said, okay, you know what? That's how you feel? We're not working for you.
I think the protests are necessary, man. Also, I even, I'm going to go as far as saying not the violence, but I'll go as far as saying the looting. I think the looting is necessary. I think burning the stores down is necessary. Burning down the police station is necessary. I think all of it's necessary. Let me say this, and then I want to give you this list of protests, and then you can close this topic if you want. But
Okay.
I look at America like a bad relationship, okay? So if you're dating a woman for like 10 years and the whole 10 years has just been absolutely horrible, you need to leave that relationship, my friend. You need to leave that relationship. If throughout those 10 years, you bought that woman X, Y, and Z, the clothes on her back, the car she drove, the roof over her head, whatever, You bought that.
Yeah.
Here's the parallel. We built the country. Okay? Our relationship with America, we built the country. Everything we gave them the head start. We built the country. But this is what I'm saying. So we're in a bad relationship with them. We've given you everything. You haven't given us anything back. Not only that, you're abusing us now. Go back to the relationship parallel. When, should a woman stay in an abusive relationship? No, she should leave. So now you're abusing us now. You're killing us. So we have the right to burn that shit down. Also, the only way, to your point, the people in charge, the people who call all the shots, etc., the only way change is ever going to happen in that country, because don't get it twisted, that country was built on racism. It's what they make the most money off of. It was built on racism. Racism is never, ever going to end in that country, ever. So the only way to actually fix it is you got to burn it down, bro. I'm talking everything. Everything. I've had conversations with people, shout out my boy Patrick, and he goes, he kind of takes your side, saying the protests are pointless. Because he's like, look, at the end of the day, the protests, they're not going to change anything. It's temporary, and then it's going to go all back to normal. If you really want to impact change, shoot the president. If you really want to impact change, shoot the billionaires. Shoot the district, do that shit. So
If you cut off the head of a snake, it's gonna grow.
This is but what I'm saying though is the only way America will ever change is you have to burn it to the ground. Period.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So you told me some of the protests that have affected change. So let's say that you have a disease, right? And I have the cure. I give you a bottle full of pills, right? And I say in this bottle, 2 of these pills are the cure, and the rest are not. Now, if you eat 5 of the wrong pills, you are going to die. But if you do manage to find the right pill, you will be cured. Do you take your chances and try to cure yourself from this disease? Or do you say, shit, it might not be worth it?
I'd say it might not be worth it.
How it's relevant. Huh?
I'd say it might not be worth it.
Okay. Now, this is how that relates to what I'm saying is because you showed me some of the protests that have worked some of the time. Right? In order for something to be effective, it must work every single time it's used.
Right.
In order to show its effectiveness. Otherwise, you're just playing yourself, man. People can sit here all day and try to convince me of a protest that happened back when, or it happened last week, or whatever, and one policy that got changed, or one clause that got changed in one bylaw in some state. I don't care about that. I'm talking about real change. I'm talking about overall change for the whole world, not just for one state, for one governor, for one law, for one bylaw. And that's what these protests, when something changes, that's what they try to do. That's what people don't pay attention to. They give you a little something. We're going to give you a little bit of something and hope that you ignore or forget about the overall thing. That's what this whole defund the police thing is, man. The whole defund the police thing is a distraction because now people are so focused on police brutality that some people have forgot that the fight itself is about equality and has nothing to do with the police. It has to do with the governments who instill these policies, who create these training manuals, who organize these tiers that allow these officers to operate and get away with these things. There's actual laws that allow these officers to shoot people and not be charged with murders. Us taking money away from the department where the employees work isn't going to change that. You have to go to the people who create those organizations and create those policies and those laws and make them change stuff.
No, I'm talking about what they get from the results of the protests. You're saying it's not enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
Okay, so then
It's like a year Trayvon got killed, so they allowed Denzel Washington and Halle Berry to get best actor and actress at the Oscars that year. It was a great year.
No, that right there is just patronizing us. But what I'm saying though is for people who say it's not enough, it's even though it's something. For people who say it's not enough, I say, what are you doing? What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah.
Because for me, when we all want the same thing, we all want the same thing. These people are about action. They're doing something and they're gaining that tiny little millimeter that we say is not enough, but they're gaining a tiny little millimeter. But those who have inaction, who do nothing, they're not gaining anything. As a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, they're a detriment because they infiltrate the people who are gaining that little millimeter, and they're creating doubt in the group of people who are trying to push this thing forward. So they're actually a detriment unless that person says, you know what, let's not do that, because when you do that, you're only moving a millimeter. If we do this, we're gonna run the whole football field. We're gonna score a touchdown. But all these anti-protesters, anti-BLM, etc., I haven't heard one plan yet. Even your man Hotep Jesus, all he was saying is you're a mental midget. All he was saying is you're blind. All he was saying is, well, basically you're stupid. Okay, where's your plan at? What are you doing other than going online and just throwing shade? What do you do? Some people's response to that will be like, yo, I'm trying to enlighten people. I'm trying to let them know they're being played. That's cool. That's fair. You're allowed to do that. But how does that help? How does that help? How does that create laws that will not, that won't let cops shoot people in broad daylight in front of their kids? How does that, stop systematic racism? How does that, prevent me, who has a respectable credit score, from walking into a bank and still getting declined for a bank? How does that help? How does that help? What are you doing to help? This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm open to all ideas that pushes this forward. But ideas is one thing, action is another. All these groups that people are downplaying, they're doing action. All these other people are online just flapping their gums.
I 100% agree with what you're saying. If you're going to criticize, you gotta make sure that you're doing something.
Do something, man.
It doesn't matter what you're doing, how big or how small. If you're going to sit there and you're going to criticize, make sure that you're